Up, up, up. Welcome to Vintage Garage. We have another full show today. We've entered the Lola T492 at the SVRA Blue-Gray Challenge at Summit Point. It's also round 4 of the North America Chapter SRCC Series for older Sports 2000 cars. At Summit Point, we'll have interviews with the drivers, scenes from around the paddock, and plenty of racing action. So stay tuned. We have a great show today. Glad you're here. Our trip begins as we head southwest on Route 340 from Frederick, Maryland. In about 20 minutes, we cross the bridge over the Potomac River into Virginia, near Maryland Heights. We're in Virginia less than 5 minutes, and we cross the Shenandoah Bridge into West Virginia. We're about 30 minutes from the track. We take the 2-lane west of Charlestown toward Summit Point, and then turn into the track entrance and past the security gate. Registration is our first stop, and we see the registration building up ahead on the left. We head inside to pick up our race credentials. There's no line and no waiting, and we're quickly on our way. We cross the bridge over the track and head down into the paddock. We see our favorite spot up ahead to the right in the back row. It's already late in the day, so we immediately unload the Lola T492 and head over to tech inspection. Richard Barnes has just been through tech, and he pushes his Merlin Formula Ford away. Behind him, Bill Hurt is teching the Volvo P1800 of Gary Jepson, and we're next in line behind Gary. When Bill finishes with the Volvo, it's our turn. Bud Voorhees techs our Lola and does a great job. We're good to go and drive the Lola back to our spot to finish unloading and setup. It's dark as we unload our gear, and darker still as we assemble a canopy. We finish up in the dark and turn in for the night. It's now Friday morning, a full day of practice sessions with the Blue-Gray specialty races in the afternoon. It's a cool, still morning, and there's quite a bit of fog in the air. We're almost the only ones up at this hour, but we see that the crew of the dark red MGB near us has arrived. Further down, the lights are on in the transporter of Lance Smith, and he's unloading his cars.
Gentlemen, come on in. We'll make this quick for you.
Bob Williams hosts an early morning meeting for the new drivers and goes over the procedures for the weekend. The track is now open for morning practice, and we're over at turn 10. It's still a bit foggy as the cars in the first group come under the bridge. The orange Saab is driven by Charles Christ, and he's flying. We're next out on the track. Let's take a quick look at the track map to get our bearings. Our hot lap begins as we head up the main straight and cross the start-finish line. We shift to fourth gear as we pass the starter stand on the right. We brake hard and downshift to first for turn 1, the loop, an increasing radius right-hander. We accelerate through turn 1 and shift to second as we pass turn 2, a gentle right-hander. We continue to accelerate and shift to third before turn 3, wagon bend, a smooth left-hander. We stay in third over the hill and through turn 4 and into the chute. We brake hard and downshift to first for turn 5, a sharp left-hander, and the tightest turn on the track. Turns 6 and 7 are a pair of right-handers that form the carousel. We stay in first through turn 6, and then shift to second before turn 7. Turns 8, a left-hander, and 9, a right-hander, form the S's, and we accelerate through them in second gear. We shift to third as we go uphill and under the bridge. We brake lightly for turn 10, a fast right-hander, and the last turn on the course. We accelerate down the front straight and shift to fourth as we pass start-finish, and that's where our hot lap will end. We head out onto the track through pit out. We'll make a couple of laps to warm up our tires, and then we'll get out of traffic to try to make a quick lap. Our hot lap begins as we head up the main straight and cross the start-finish line. We shift to fourth gear as we pass the starter stand on the right. We brake hard and downshift to first for turn 1, the loop, an increasing radius right-hander. We accelerate through turn 1 and shift to second as we pass turn 2, a gentle right-hander. We continue to accelerate and shift to third before turn 3, wagon bend, a smooth left-hander. We take it easy this morning as the track is cold and a bit damp. We stay in third over the hill and through turn 4 and into the chute. We brake hard and downshift to first for turn 5, a sharp left-hander, and the tightest turn on the track. Turns 6 and 7 are a pair of right-handers that form the carousel. We stay in first through turn 6 and then shift to second before turn 7. Turns 8, a left-hander, and 9, a right-hander, form the S's, and we accelerate through them in second gear. We shift to third as we go uphill and under the bridge. We brake lightly for turn 10, a fast right-hander, and the last turn on the course. We accelerate down the front straight and shift to fourth as we pass start-finish, and that's where our hot lap will end. A few laps later, we leave the track at pit in, which is just past the bridge and before turn 10. As we head back to our spot, we see Scott Livingston's rig on the left. He's unloading his March Sports 2000. We'll change into our shorts, walk Einstein around, and look at the other cars. Right behind us we find the black Swift DB2 with the yellow nose trim of Peter Gates, and next to him the white Taiga SC85 with the black nose trim of John Galson. Across from us, Ross Bremer's Anglia is up on jack stands. This super quick car has an MWE prepared engine in it. Let's have a look up front. The engine bay is nice and clean and is dominated by the ram pipes of the fuel injection system. Next to Ross is the rig of Harvey Siegel and Lee Breen. They have several Elvis and a Merlin Formula Ford. That's Harvey in the orange suit getting ready to go out. This Fiat Abarth 1000 is one of the cars here this weekend that we'd most like to own. There's a pretty long line at the gas pumps, but we're out of fuel, so Einstein and I visit with the others and then get our fuel for the weekend. Back at our spot, we see Scott Livingston has both March Sports 2000s unloaded, and he's already got his canopies erected. Scott has the front tire off the March and is applying some secret tweaks. Across from us, David Califato has his March Sports 2000 unloaded and it's ready to go. This is the Chevron B19 of Ray Seam Tugberg. He's in our group but in a different class. The motor in the car is a highly modified twin-cam engine and the car has super wide slicks to put the power to the ground. Scott Gates is helping John Galson fuel up the Taiga. We're now on the false grid as the cars are gridded for the first Friday afternoon Blue-Gray specialty race. The cars are handicapped for this race with the faster cars at the rear of the grid. First away are the cars with the smallest motors. Further back on the grid, Jack Worley releases the larger cars one by one based on the expected performance of the car. We're up at timing and scoring to pick up our timesheets, and we see John Mitchell, Neil Harmon, and Gail Allen running the A and B system, timing the Blue-Gray race. Timing and scoring has been first rate this weekend. We're now outside timing and scoring right near the start-finish line as the Blue-Gray race continues. We're now over in turn 8 as the second Blue-Gray handicap race is underway. Drivers are divided into two teams, the North and the South, and the sum of points for each driver determines the winning teams. We're now at the short straight between turns 9 and 10 to watch the cars go up the hill. The racing is over for Friday. Einstein and I note that every guy who has a Porsche 911 seems to take the engine out every evening. Over at GMT Racing, Vern Williams buttons up the Chevron of Travis Engen. It's ready for the morning. We see Lee Chapman closing up his rig for the evening.
I bought a Sports 2000, a Tiger 8 SC80, and I need a rear body work for it. If you come across anybody that has any molds for it, if you would. My buddy was supposed to send one from England. It was supposed to come in the container last time, but it never arrived.
Over here we got Ryan Andy balancing tires on the tire machine. She's doing a great job tonight. We're out of light, but this Corvette is ready to go for morning. It's now Saturday morning at Summit Point. It's qualification day. A weak cold front came through overnight. It dropped just a bit of a shower, but the paddock is already drying, and it looks like it'll be a nice day. The crew gets the Porsche 906 of Henry Payne ready for action. The cars over at Vintage Racing Services are ready to go. We're up on the grid as the Group 3 and 4 cars get ready to take to the track for their qualifying session. We moved over to Turn 9 to watch the Group 3 and 4 qualifying. Next to us, we see world-famous motorsports photographer Bob Harrington working the turn. The action is hot. We're now over at Turn 5, looking back through the chute. And from this vantage point, we can follow the cars through the carousel and into the S's. We're up at Turn 10 to watch the start of the Group 1 qualifying race. The field looks lined up and the pace car pulls off. Ross Bremer leads the field under the bridge at the end of lap 1. It's now late in the afternoon and we're about at the halfway point in the 2-hour Mike Stott Payne Weber Enduro, and the cars have started to come in for their mandatory pit stops. At the end of the day, the SRCC guys gather around the March 83S of David Califato to see if they can help diagnose a problem with the motor. The motor is faltering when the car gets up to speed. Then the guys head over to Peter Gates' rig, where Frida Gates has put out a big spread for all the SRCC Sports 2000 drivers and their crews. John Galson passes out the SRCC trophies for their Mostport victories to Scott Livingston,
Team Cool Green.
and then Tom
The
Coppage.
Class C award to Tom Coppage. Here you are.
David for the race.
John also gives us a nice photo of our car on the track.
Well, thanks for all the help and all the hard work on behalf of the 2000. There we are. Shows one at the leader of the pack. He's in the lead.
Whoa, Barney!
No way, no way.
It's now Sunday morning at Summit Point. It's feature day. There's a warm-up this morning, and our feature race is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There's also an all-Morgan race today. It should be a lot of fun. All around the paddock, the crews are arriving and getting their cars ready. We see the Lola Mark I of Herb Wettinson, another one of our favorite cars. Lee Chapman is changing gears on the Chevron B23 of Peter Gulick. The Bug-Eyed Sprite of Lawrence Schaefer is ready to go. The wrecker cleans up the debris from the morning Group 2 and 9 warm-ups, and the corner workers sweep the track, and it's time for the Sunday morning Group 5 and 7 warm-ups. This is the Porsche 906 of Henry Payne. John Galson is in the white Taiga SC85, followed by Travis Engen in the red Lotus 23, David Califato in the March 83S, and Sandra McNeil in the silver and red Lotus 23. Here comes John Galson. Let's follow him through the carousel and into the S's. Next through is Tom Coppage in the dark gray March 81S. The Group 5 and 7 warm-up is ending. We'll head back to the paddock to interview Scott Livingston, one of the stars of the North America SRCC Series.
I'm Scott Livingston. This is a 1981 March Sports 2000 car, one of several that we run. It's pretty typical of a Sports 2000 car. It has an aluminum monocoque or chassis. The motor in the car is a 2-liter overhead cam Ford that we modified. The exhaust is quite different from what you would have in a street car. It's also dry sumped, which means that there's an external oil pump. They make about 150 horsepower, and they're good enough to get one of these cars over 140 miles an hour if there's a fairly long straight. The gearbox in the car is the ubiquitous Hewland Engineering Mark 9, which is a transaxle made in England. All the gears are interchangeable. As you can see, this car uses inboard rear brakes. That's to keep the weight off the tires. This car is being driven this weekend by Tom Coppage, who won the last time he raced with it, and ideally will win today.
We're up on the false grid now for the Cantab Motors race for Morgan's and invited British cars. Grid Chief Sandy Collins checks over the cars and then sends the cars out on the track. Morgan is featured marked for the weekend, and the Morgans go out first, followed by the rest of the group. We're on the pit wall now as the cars come by, lined up to take the green flag. The action is hot over at the bridge. It's now time for our feature race, and the grid marshal slots us into our starting position on the grid. Cars are gridded by qualifying time with fastest cars up front. We're one of the slower cars and are gridded near the end of the field. As we head out onto the track, another grid marshal directs each car to either an inside or outside position for a 2x2 rolling start. We have an inside position. At the end of the pace lap, the field is heading under the bridge approaching turn 10. We're a lot slower than the cars ahead of us and a little bit quicker than the cars behind us. So we're concentrating on having the car in the right gear and making a safe start. Mike Kume is in the blue bobbsey to the left in the row just ahead of us. The cars look lined up. I think we'll have a start this time. The green is out. The pack quickly leaves us in the dust. We gain back a bit heading back to the chute, but don't nearly catch up. On the last lap of the race, we see the leaders in our mirrors coming up to lap us. We ease up in turn 2 to let them by and give them a clear track. The Group 5 cars of Larry Kessler in the yellow Elva and Travis Engen in the red Lotus 23 are sandwiched around Scott Livingston in the black and white March 83S and Peter Gates in the black Swift DB2 who are fighting for first place among the SRCC Sports 2000 cars. And that's the way the race ended. We finished one lap down, but we had a good time and kept the car in one piece. Scott Livingston won the SRCC race, followed by Peter Gates, Tom Coppage, who was first in Class H, John Galson, Harlola, and David Calafeto. We're almost the last ones left in the paddock as we finally get all our gear loaded and head for home. On the way out of the gate, we reflect on the weekend and start making plans for next season. That's it for this week at Vintage Garage. We had a great time at the SVRA Blue-Gray Challenge and look forward to returning next season. Next week, it's back to work in the shop. The paint should be hard on the frame on the Titan Mark 9 that we're restoring. We'll begin the assembly of the car and may even complete it to the rolling chassis stage. So until next time, thanks for coming. Keep the shiny side up. We'll see you next week. More information about any of the projects we've worked on today, please visit our website at www.vintagegarage.com. There's a link to our email address on the website. Please email us. We'd like to hear from you. Till next time, keep the shiny side up. Thanks for coming. See you next week.